The technique that I'm going to demonstrate today is grounding using the five senses. This technique falls under the umbrella of mindfulness because not only does it force someone to be present in the moment, it has the added benefit of forcing someone to be attuned to their surroundings, which I have found in working with youth is particularly useful because it eliminates the possibility of getting canned answers, which I do sometimes get from the young people with whom I spend my time. This particular type of mindfulness exercise increases emotional regulation skills. It increases distress tolerance skills by allowing someone to refocus, to perhaps distract themselves from the intensity or stress of the current moment, and in taking a step back to hopefully allow them to get their emotional level from maybe an 8, a 9, or a 10, down to a 5, maybe even a 6, which makes a lot of other things possible. In my experience, both in my internship and personally, this skill is really useful for people who are prone to flashbacks or who have a tendency to dissociate. It is a very tangible way to mitigate the effects of flashbacks and dissociation. And with sufficient practice, it can actually sort of break that circuit once it starts. So today we're going to focus on the five senses: seeing, hearing, touching, smelling, tasting, plus movement. Because I think that sometimes that is key. And I know with young people in particular, just kind of giving them a chance to move a little bit often, again, sort of helps them refocus. The really nice thing with this activity is that you're just making observations of what your senses are perceiving. There's no need to judge. There's no need to think about it. It's just, hey, what can I see? What can I smell? What can I hear? So today, I am going to play the role of both the person sort of leading the session and cueing the skill, as well as the person who is practicing it, just to get an idea of what sort of the internal dialogue of someone who is going through this type of mindfulness might be, because it's not something that is done aloud. So, here we go. If you feel comfortable, close your eyes briefly. If that's not something that's comfortable for you, perhaps you can just lower them about halfway. And if neither one of those things is something that you feel like you can do right now, if you could just take a couple of deep breaths just to kind of reset yourself and to allow you to focus on what we're about to do. If your eyes were closed or half closed, you can open them up now. So what I'm going to do is just lead you through some activities that involve the five senses. This is just observational. You can pretend almost like you're a scientist, and all you're doing is you're noting things that you see, that you hear, that you can touch, that you can smell, and that you can taste. But we're not attaching judgments to them, we're not attaching feelings to them. We're just observing. So, look around the room and find 5 things that you are able to see. I can see the lamp over on the table. I can see the candles in front of me. I can see out the window and see some trees that don't have any leaves on them. I can see a chair over there, and I can see the table that is in front of me. Good. Now, I want you to open your ears and think about what are 4 things that you are able to hear. I can hear some birds chirping. I can hear my dogs whining. I can hear my chair creaking when I move, and I can hear the whirring sound coming from my computer. Fabulous. Now, what are 3 things that you can touch without getting up? I can touch the arms of my chair, which are actually kind of cold. I can touch my jacket, and I can touch the pen, which happens to be sitting on the table. Great. Now I want you to think of 2 things that you can smell. I can smell the candle on the table in front of me, and I can actually smell my own perfume. Okay, great. Now this one's a little trickier, but I want you to think of 1 thing that you can taste. At this point, you might want to, if you have one with you, pop a piece of gum into your mouth, maybe a mint. If, like a lot of young people, you have some food stowed in a pocket, it would actually be okay if you just took a little bite now. I can taste the cough drop that I had earlier. Excellent. Now, we all know that movement really is not one of your 5 senses. But I also know that for myself, sometimes when I'm feeling a certain way, especially if I'm struggling to manage my emotions or a thought, I tend to be really tense and I tend to freeze up. I don't know if that is true for you too, but that's why we include movement. So what I would like you to do now is, without getting up from where you're sitting, just move. You know, shift your position, cross your legs, uncross your legs. I've had my legs crossed this whole time, and I just uncrossed them, and that actually feels a little bit better. Fantastic. Okay, you did a really great job with this. And you don't have to do 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. You can do more things you can see or hear, whatever works best for you. And one of the really great things about this type of mindfulness and this type of grounding is that it can be done anywhere. And no one really needs to know that you're doing it. I'm a teacher, and I can't tell you how often students are looking around the room. Probably more than I'd want them to. But I don't yell at them for doing it. So clearly it's something that you can do. And it doesn't really attract any attention. It's very discreet. It's very personal. You don't need to have supplies. You don't need to have props. And it's also something which sometimes can bring a little bit of joy to your life. Because if you can, see the blue sky or, hear the birds chirping, that's probably a really great thing, regardless of what particular mood you were in. Thanks for listening. I hope that this turns out to be something that some of you can use. I know that I use it in my own life, and I also use it in group and individual sessions with the youth that I'm working with in my internship, and I also use it with my high school students. When I have a kid who seems particularly upset, and even sometimes when the energy of the class seems really unfocused, it's a really good way just to kind of bring us all back, bring us all down, and let us then move forward to do whatever it is that we need to get done. Thanks. Bye.